Hey guys, welcome Musky Road Rules Podcast and Patreon. Guys, we're coming to the end of the season. It's December. I'm looking outside. I'm up in the northwest angle, and it's actually a beautiful day today. It's bluebird skies. We've got, we don't have a lot of snow here. A lot of Minnesota has gotten pummeled by snow. We do not have that much up here. I've always said I moved up north to see snow, and it stopped snowing. We got like maybe 3 inches on the ground, but it is pretty. It's on all the trees. Everything looks really cool, and it is very, very cold outside. One thing we don't lack up north is the extreme cold. Supposed to be 20 below this weekend, so that'll be interesting. Although I am coming back to Kentucky for a couple of weeks. Don't know if I'll do any fishing. I did get my motor is getting fixed right now, so hopefully I'll be all good to go there by the end of the month. And yeah, but guys, as always, I appreciate you listening every week to the ramblings that we do on here. And for your Patreon subscribers and members, again, thanks for watching. And I think we'll have a pretty cool little deal here for you today. Also, it is getting that time of year again. It's getting sports show season. So we've got the Ohio Muskie Show coming up, the 2026 Ohio Muskie Show. It's going to be January 23rd, 24th, 25th at the McCoy Center, where it's been for a long, long time, right there in Hilliard, Ohio. Guys, we got a lot of booths, a lot of stuff. We do have room if you are a bait maker and you'd like to get involved. Yeah, reach out to us. You can always reach out to me via my email address, battlethebeast@gmail.com. You can always reach me at that. And we can talk about, we got booths. They're $350, guys. That includes electric. Super, super easy. Ohio's a great market for your soft plastic, your rubber, even the bucktail stuff is starting to come along. It's not a super high top water area, but Ohio right now is probably one of the fastest and best growing muskie markets there is. And I, encourage everybody to check it out. OhioMuskieShow.com. Again, the dates are the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of January. Something I'm also going to be doing here, guys, is putting up, I don't know, I'll probably do it on social. I got to get back on social media. I'm not good at it. It annoys me more than anything. But I'm trying to revigorate myself into doing it. But I've got here some video footage from this last year. I'm going to be putting it up on the Patreon and stuff. And and there you go, a missed fish. But that was a tube fish. We did really good on tubes last year up shallow. The couple you seen in the boat there was Stephen D. From Kenosha, Wisconsin there, a fish that Steve had come up and pop his bait at the boat. They had a great trip up here last fall with some really nice fish. But that was just one of them. I'm going to be releasing videos and stuff all throughout the winter to let you guys see. Or come by the sports show booth at Battle the Beast Guide Service, sports show booth. I'll have a big TV going there with a bunch of videos and stuff that I have recorded throughout the year. I record just about every day. Most of the time, I do not know why I record so much. I just do. I love the video stuff. I think it's cool. You can really see some things, and you can see some neat stuff. I did record only one hooking in the head this year, so that'll be a nice one to see. But guys, we got a lot of stuff that I want to show you, and hopefully you'll see it during the sports show season. Right now, I have a guest on the podcast, someone that's been on before, never in this format though. I have got Mr. Josh Borovsky of Musky Insider, guys. They do a nice job of getting information out there to people in a great way, short form. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Greg. Good to see you.
Yeah. How's things going? What are you up to? It's December. It's kind of the end of the season, and what are you up to?
Losing my mind, working my tail off. Even though the season's done, I'm show season's coming. So, we got the bait company, the Angling Revolution Bait Company. We got some new baits coming out, which I think we'll probably unveil at some point in the talk today.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of work doing our classes for Musky Insider Pro, which, by the way, Greg, I just wanted to say thanks to you. I'm super stoked to have you doing the Southern Reservoir class for us.
It's early yet. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I could fuck this up. Don't worry. But no, it'll be neat. I've never done one yet, so I'll get to sit there and yak and we can talk and go over some Southern stuff, which it's kind of that season. Guys down there are still fishing, and you can fish year round. I mean, when I was younger, I fished every month of the year, and it's definitely something that guys can come down, take advantage of. The weather isn't quite as bad down south typically. I always say we have just as many freezing days in January as we do 60-degree days down south, which is nice compared to up here where above zero is something that we don't get to play with that much.
Right on.
But Josh, let's get into this now. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of this thing. I want to ask you, I've been asking everybody that's come to, that has come on. That's really nice language there. That has came on. How did you get into muskie fishing? What was your start, and how big was your first fish?
Oh man. I got started, our family had a cabin, which we still have in northern Wisconsin. It's on a little lake called Blaisdell Lake, near Hayward. It's on the East Fork of the Chippewa River. And, I think I caught my first one when I was 7. My first legal one when I was 7. I think I caught one smaller than that, actually. There was one of my cousins thought he was snagged, and, I was trying to help him get it off. I'm like, you got to push down here, and reeled it in. He got all mad at me. But yeah, that's, I got my start, but I think what really hooked me, was one, our cabin that we had was like this old resort that got sold off. So these families bought all the cabins, and we'd have like a big bonfire on the weekends, and all the families would get together, and the kids would, roast marshmallows. And I just remember hearing like the muskie stories around the fire, like it was the Loch Ness monster. And then when it might have just before I was 7, I'm surprised my parents let me do this, but the neighbor kids, one of them was older. He was like 15, and he took me and another younger kid up in a canoe up the river. And this kid we were with caught his biggest smallmouth at the time was probably like 3-4 pounds. And, wouldn't do this today, but, it was a kid. He wanted to bring it home and show his parents. So he put it on the stringer, and every boat that came down the river, right, he'd lift the stringer up. Hey, look at this big smallmouth I caught. And he, goes to lift the stringer up, and it won't come up, and the whole canoe starts tipping. And, this huge muskie is like latched onto it. And, and then it actually came back again. He like took it out, came back again, ate the smallmouth again. So then he had to leave it in the canoe, and then it like ate a rock bass that the older kid had on. And then
nice
paddled back to tell the dads, and, the dads got all their muskie gear and tried to,
basically it looked like the scene from Jaws when everybody goes out to catch the shark.
Totally.
Yes.
And, and they all came back with their tail between their legs, of course, and did not catch it.
They didn't have a rock bass.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Well, that's pretty cool. So you've been dealing with these critters for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they, I always find it interesting that people get involved with it. How big was the first one you caught? Do you remember?
Well, that snagged one was like a 24-incher, and then I caught one. I probably caught like my first 70 muskies or something on little bass baits, beetle spins, Mr. Twisters, that type of stuff. So my first one was 37 inches. I remember that. I was like 12 years old. This was back when I was afraid to look over to the side of the boat because I was afraid to see one follow because I thought it would scare me. And I caught it on an old Bill Norman crankbait, which Bill Normans now they're hard to find, but they work so good. Still use them today. Some of the old ones that I still got, or I find, and some guy, usually some guy dies and his wife goes to sell his stuff and he's really old, and I'm like, oh shit, there's some.
That's usually where you find the things. But no, I get it. So, but you spend a lot of your time, Josh, up on the Vermilion area, up in Minnesota. You still spend some time in Wisconsin, you said. Do you get to play over there a little bit?
I went there for opener this year on a river system, a different one, just because we were testing out some prototype baits, some little bucktails, and some years in Minnesota we do really well on small baits, but like sometimes we're a little bit bigger. So I wanted to kind of get a jump start on testing these things out.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the St. Louis River is where I went. I hadn't been there in a really long time. It was really fun until I took out my lower unit on a stump that was about 6 inches under the water, right in the middle of like the navigation area, between where the buoys are,
So how was the St. Louis? If you're like me, you always try to hit things 3 or 4 years after it's good. And I went, and when I went to the St. Louis River, everybody was telling me, when I say everybody, the guys that I knew that were up there, they would say, oh, there's great weeds here. And you go up into the Spirit Lake area and there's great weeds up there. It's awesome. Well, this was about 3 years after the flood. There wasn't a goddamn weed in that whole system. I mean, the weed line was in like 1.8 to 2.4 feet of water. And we did catch some fish. I was shocked, but it was an extremely tough system. The weeds were not there. The only place, I'm trying to think, Spirit Lake had no weeds in it. I think I found one. And the only place that we caught fish was actually in the harbor. They weren't even in the Duluth, in the St. Louis River. It was right in front of Barker's Island. We caught some fish, and then we caught some up towards one of the cuts. Maybe one on Hog Island, I think was the name of one of the places. And up towards one of the cuts going out to the big lake, there was some weeds up there, but it was not magical at all. So how was it for you?
It was okay. I was somewhat pleasantly surprised. I think we had 8 bites. I think we only caught half of them. I think we caught at least 4, maybe it was 5, and gave us some. I mean, part of it, to be honest, is I was not guiding on those days. So I had some buddies with, and was doing a lot of lure testing. So there was a lot of sitting down in the boat, bending wire, taking beads off, putting beads on, trying different blade sizes. One of the challenges I figured out is when you go that small with our clevis system, that friction of that square clevis spinning on the bead starts to make it harder for smaller size blades to spin. So there were a lot of, failed attempts. We probably could have caught some, a few more if we once we figured it out, we were good, but it took a little while to dial it all in. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually hadn't been there. And I mean, gosh, man, probably since 2000, like since the flood, basically. And I got my captain's license just to guide there, because when we had that PMTT event in 2010, you were there, weren't you? You remember that?
I did not fish that event. Oh. I that was one of the few that I did not make, but no, I do know the event you're talking about.
So it was a weird deal because we had like a record low turnout at that event. There was only, I want to say, like 48 boats there, but there were like 48 fish caught, right?
No. There was a shitload. That was a good event.
Right. And so when I was like, man, this is the next thing, when you looked at the sizes, it was like it was still on the way up. It was a lot of mid and upper 40-inch fish, and there was already some 50s. So I'm like, this is someplace I need to be, and got my captain's license. And, then whatever it was, a year or 2 later, the, flood happened, and then it was just kind of a ghost town. And I didn't even, from the guys I knew that fished there all the time, from what I heard, I didn't even bother going. So this was my first.
Oh, it was. Trust me, I went, and it was not great. I did the only thing that I got to experience there was the Tall Ships Festival, and they love them some tall ships in Duluth. I went to try to get a hotel room, and this woman, it was like her Super Bowl. This tall ship. She's like, "Sir, we can't get you in here because there's tall ships." I go, "I don't know what a tall ship is," and you would have thought I would have said, I don't know, I don't know anything. I don't know what Earth is, because she went into this thing of everything she was going to do. She was going to buy a puffy shirt. She was going to fuck a pirate. I mean, she was ready for this. And that was the most fun that I had, or that was the most, that was the excitement of my St. Louis River, Duluth Harbor trip, was this lady and her tall ships. And it's the only time I've ever musky fished under cannon fire, because every time they went by you, they'd shoot. And it was, it wasn't the best experience that I had fishing, but there were some tall ships. But so you went up there, and let's talk about this bait now. You went up there and tested some of your lures. You've already got the one, which is the bucktail that you guys previously made with the bigger blades on there. And so what is this one that you were prototyping?
Do you want me just to unveil it right now? And
Let's just pull the curtain back.
So this is an exact. This one's chewed up a little bit, but this is a proto. See, I'm trying to hold this at a good angle for you guys to see.
There you go. So you got Marabou on there.
Yep, it's Marabou tinsel combo. It probably looks big in the screen right now, but it's a very small bucktail. It's significantly smaller than our 8/8s and 8/9s. And I'm gonna try. Let's see here. Maybe if I put my hand, you can see I got a bell
up higher
on there too, a sound bell. And I can explain it. I can show you what it is now, but I'll explain like why I think this is important and how we kind of came to this conclusion later on. I did not have this feature on for those St. Louis fish yet, but underneath the bell,
go up higher.
Let's see. Higher. There you go.
Right there.
Yep. Okay. So here's the bell. Okay. Yep. I'm pulling it back. So underneath the bell, we have a bead kind of as a spacer, but then right here, this is just a stainless steel piece of tubing, and you can see it's loose, right? It's got a big opening, so it's just kind of wobbling in there. Mm-hmm. And then they sit on top of that disc, and the disc, it's making contact with that disc too. And I definitely think there's something about, well, I know there is, about the sound, and I mean, I can get into it now. It's something I figured out later down the road in the season on Vermilion. And I mean, if you want me to, I can just talk about it.
Let's just go into it. And for guys that aren't able to see it, which you should subscribe to the Patreon so you can see it, get off your ass. The bell that he's referring to is very similar to the Vibrex, the old Blue Fox Vibrex, the bell, the dinger, as I used to call it, on there on the shaft. So, but yeah, let's go into it. Where did this all come from, and what made what the product that people are going to be able to buy at the shows this year, or be able to buy moving forward? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I mean, I knew we wanted to come out with a smaller version, especially when we go to places like Chicago and Milwaukee. A lot of times, they come in, oh, these are super great, cool idea. Do you have a smaller one? No. So we knew we needed to go that route, but it's like, I also, when we come out, there's a lot of bucktails on the market. And when we come out with something, it's like, I want to like take some pride in like having something that's unique and feels special, at least to me. It's easier to sell it that way too. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even saying that like this bucktail is the answer all the time, but I do think that something of value, Greg, that I could share, and maybe you'll disagree or have a different like twist on it, but I definitely, have a process to how I figure out what the most kind of dominant bucktail, and really you can just extend this to baits and, baits too, right? In the mm-hmm. boat. And I kind of like to do little controlled experiments out there, because a lot of times, especially with bucktails, depending on the bite and the mood of the fish, there's probably like a pretty wide spectrum of bucktails that you could catch fish on. But among them, a lot of times there will be one that is dominant. It will catch more. Like they want that bait more than the other bucktails. You will catch more on it. And there's kind of ways to figure that out and test it. And one of the things, first of all is, and this is kind of a mistake I made during the season too, at points, is one thing that was unique about the one, and with this bait, once I figured it out, is like, you just don't get very, like, I would love to get tons of cool figure eight footage of fish like smoking them in the 8, but a lot of times these baits are getting bit out on the cast, and they are like, I mean, I'm having to cut hooks out of like almost every fish because they're just smashing them like so hard, right?
Mhm.
So I look at like how the fish eats the bait, like how, is it just like lip hooked, or did you have to like figure eight it to catch it, or are they eating it out on the cast and they're like really hammering it? So that's a clue. But the more the process is whenever I kind of want to, whenever I have a hot bait or you have a bait that you've scored on, a lot of times if you leave that bait in the front of the boat, it can become a vacuum cleaner and it becomes hard for everybody else behind it to, catch and move fish. And so one of the ways, not only will I figure out what the most dominant bait is, it also helps figure out what the other menu items are that they are willing to eat, right? So I like to take a bait that's catching or what you've got bid on first that day and then immediately move it to the 2-hole. And then kind of use it as a control. So, then we run a different but if you're like just trying to refine like the bucktails, right? You can try a different color, different size blade combo, and run that in front of it. And if the bait in the 2-hole gets smoked, then a lot of times we switch out the 1-hole, right? And we kind of keep doing that till we find something that can catch at least in front of it. And then once you have 2 baits that can, they're eating both of them, you can kind of flip flop them in the 1 and the 2-hole. Or if I'm not guiding and you got 3 buddies or whatever, I mean, a lot of times I just don't throw bucktails because I'm trying to keep another base covered, but you can even involve, 3 baits and try to refine it further. But I feel like a lot of times what will happen is you can have a bait that it'll catch in the 1-hole. And then if you move it to the 2-hole, you flip flop it with the other one, it won't anymore. Like the 1-hole, the other one's a vacuum cleaner. And when you flip flop back the other way, the first bait will catch some fish in the 1-hole, but the other one still catches in the 2-hole. So to me, that tells me that is a more dominant bait, right? It can catch behind the other one, but the other one can't catch behind it. And when we were testing all these prototypes, I mean, the 1 is still like, we caught a lot of fish on Vermilion during the July-August bucktail bite. It was like 40 something in a row. It was kind of ridiculous with the proto included in there. But I kind of felt like with the protos, it was like they would catch in front of the 1, but then when I put the 1 in front of it, it was kind of like, it wasn't as, I felt like the 1 was still better. And so I just was like, we got to figure out something that can hang with it or be more dominant. And when I added that stainless steel tubing piece that I showed you there, that was like, I mean, it was, as soon as I put that on there, it was like pulling fish like from the 2-hole behind, the 1 quite a bit. It was like that dominant, and out on the cast too. So, so I do think there's something to it. I think it's got a unique sound signature. That's kind of the process, I guess, of how we figured it out. But I wanted to share that because the truth is I'm sure there's days out there where there's going to be another bait. It might even be another bucktail, right? That's not ours. That's a mayhem or a frenzy or whatever, right? That will be more dominant on that day. So I know I'm kind of selling my lures talking about it, but I would emphasize what's more important is that process, because that will lead you to the answer. Even if it's not one of my baits, it'll help you figure out what is, working, and at least to me. Maybe you have different ideas on how to go about that, but definitely some of my thoughts on that.
No, that sounds I agree with what you're saying there. What size blades are you calling that one the little one?
Yeah, I think that's, we're kind of jumping the gun, Greg. We're giving people a sneak peek. Like the other bait I'm going to show you, we don't even have a name for it yet. I know the name I want. I just got to make sure we like clear it, like, legally, and make sure we, own it and aren't stealing it from somebody else or whatever. But with the blades on the little one, we're going to sell them with a 7 Colorado and a Mag 8 Colorado on there. That seemed to be, that's what we were using early in the season. Those like give you instant lift. They spin really well. The thing that I kind of didn't like about that combo, even though that's what we're selling with, is if you really want to burn super fast, it gives you enough lift where they can start popping out on you. We did put a little keel weight on these ones too, to, help reduce line twist and whatnot, but it's a 3/4 ounce versus an ounce on our other models. Which is enough where you can still bomb cast it real far. But we know places like Wisconsin, guys like to get over the tops of the weeds, and we didn't want to, have it be too heavy where it, drops down and gets in there. I will say though that on Vermilion, even though we're not selling them this way, we did really well actually with a 7 Colorado and a standard 8 Colorado versus a mag 8. And it's just a slight bump up in slide, or bump down in size from the other ones. And the reason we're not selling them that way is you can, and by the way, our clevis is interchangeable. So like however you buy them, you can put whatever blades you want on there. I like for burning, I like that smaller 8 with the 7. Because it reduced the lift and the drag a little bit and allowed you to go a little bit, faster. But I did notice that if you're trying to go a little bit slower, you can start to have spinning issues. And I just didn't, you don't want to take the risk coming to market and put something out there that, is finicky with how it spins. So I would certainly say if you like to turn and burn, you can bump that 8 down to a standard 8 Colorado versus a mag 8, and you'll get a little bit more speed and a little less lift.
When you're burning baits there, what kind of reel are you using?
For me, I kind of adjust the reel to the person that I have in my boat when I'm guiding. So I have like the rocket reels. I don't make them anymore, but the Abu Garcia rocket reels. I like Beasts a lot, to be honest with you. They're not the fastest, reel in the land. But, it's kind of, it's the debate. If I have a real slower reeler, I'll give them the super fast reel to kind of account for that. But, I think as long as you can physically turn the reel faster, it's easier to have like a slightly slower reel that's easy to turn fast than to have, the high gear reel or high geared reel where you can, turn the handle slow, but it's kind of more of a meat grinder and there's a little more resistance there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I have a variety, and I've been a little bit more, of an Abu guy. There might be some, there's quite a few options I think that'll work for burning bucktails. So a lot of the reels I use are more because when you get to fall, that's when there's certain ones that kind of get ruled out of the game for icing up on me, and I've kind of started to weed those out. So
no, I get it. I was just curious. The next thing I was going to say, you said you've got 2 baits. Mm-hmm. We kind of talked about going through the season, but I think talking about the baits is more fun. Mm-hmm. What's the other dude you got coming up?
So the other one we got got coming up, we don't even have a name for it yet. And this is going to be somewhat of a soft launch. We are going to have some available at the shows, but it's going to be very limited quantities. It definitely, I'll tell you what I like about it a lot. And there's a couple things where it's kind of why we're doing a soft launch. There's some variations and changes that we might make to this thing. But the more I started thinking about it, it's almost starting to become a completely different bait. And some of my buddies that had these prototypes and us, like we caught, enough fish on them. We're like, hey dude, don't change them. I want some of the ones that you have. So, this is basically what it is. It's a tube, but it's got these, I'm going to back up a little bit here.
Yep.
I'll turn it sideways for you.
Mm-hmm.
There we go this way.
It's got the wings.
Yep. It's got these big wings on it. And what it does is, when you pop it up on the fall, it kind of turns like an airplane, like sideways, which is, I will say, by the way, it's really important with these. You have to shrink tube that back hook or you'll have a lot of fouled casts. It'll grab the leader. Shrink tubing, it seems to pretty much eliminate the problem.
Are you throwing, now when you're saying leader, are you using a fluorocarbon or are you going solid wire?
Solid wire was better for like not having fouling issues. We caught fish also. Some of my rods just had, like a real thick multi-strand leader on there that kind of acts pretty similar to fluorocarbon, but you don't have to worry as much about bite offs. Mm-hmm. But I think the straight wires definitely helps like reduce fouling the most, just because it doesn't bow, on that fall. So yeah. So anyway, they were. I missed part of the open water bite this year because I set a new record, Greg. I got 4 hooks in me at once.
Oh,
and
that's good.
one of them was to like the bone in my arm, and another one went in and like grabbed the tendons, and I could feel it like pulling my tendons all the way up into my.
What happened?
It was a tube fish. It was of course, Greg, you probably already know. I'm guessing if you've had hooks that you maybe have a story like this too. It was a pike. Like almost every time that I've got hooks in me, it's always a small pike, and I called it. I'm like, oh, got to be careful. These are the ones that get you, because there was a loose hook, hanging out the back end, and it was hooked kind of like under its chin, more like in the gills, like out. That hook was outside of its mouth.
Yeah.
And so there's nowhere to grab them. You try to grab them by the gills, and you got to be careful about the hook that's underneath. But, usually you can get behind them. And once you get the kind of the death grip behind their gills, they can't slide out. And I was reaching down to grab it. And right when I did, it rolled upside down, drove the other hook in my hand. And then I just had an old timer with me. I love him. Super nice guy, but he's 86 now. And it just took a long time to get a bolt cutters in my hands. And in that time,
I've been there.
Bunch of other hooks found home. So I missed some of the open water bite, I guess is what my point to that. But yeah, these were good for us in the open water. I would definitely say the niche or whatever for this bait is if you know where a fish is, it is a really good triggering bait. And so like for throwbacks as well on structure, if you have one come in, and you throw this back at them, it was pretty impressive, like how many bites we could get on this thing. One of the things I shouldn't be saying this, I'm like downselling my own bait, but one of the things that like annoys me about it, 2 of them maybe, is one, it's got such a slow fall that, you definitely have to give it slack, and you have to have some patience on the fall. And so if you're just trying to like fish it, like, normally down the structure, you just have to have a lot of patience, which I like a little too ADD sometimes to like, I throw tubes, but this one, and if you take the blade off the back, it reduces that time a little bit, but you still got
that blade off the back is not like a regular blade. There's like,
so this is another, I'm glad you pointed that out. So what we got on the back of this is, hold that up. Maybe
it's actually 2 blades.
Yes. Yeah. They're called whiptails.
Okay.
It's kind of like a little minnow shaped, kind of C-shaped blade, but there's 2 of them on there. And when you kind of hook them up on a split ring, like that opposing, it's like a little, Vibrex tornado back there. We're actually also going to be, so I guess another thing we're going to have, we're going to be selling these as an accessory in our booth this year too. So if you want to add them to, like, I got one
those
here.
Little blades like that are like the old hatchet blades. And then where did those come from? Those walleye, right? Did walleye?
Yeah, I think they use them. We got ours from Worth makes these blades. They're hard to get though. I think you got to usually order them in pretty high quantities to get them.
Yeah.
There we go. Maybe if I do it like that, you can maybe put it in front of my shirt. Yeah. But yeah, and this is one just on the back. You can put it on the back of a bucktail as well as a little teaser blade. But I would definitely say, even if you don't, put our whiptails on the back of one of these tubes, definitely you want to use a real small blade.
Sure.
The glide is already, or the fall is already slowed enough where, you don't want to have a real big blade on there. I think it'll kill that gliding action, and just make it like impossible. You'll lose your mind trying to like fish it that slow. So
one of the things about a tube that I love to, I've been fishing them 20 years since I met Red October at the Ohio show, and they had a picture of bald Britney Spears in their booth. That is, I've always, in the evolution of fishing tubes, especially for me, I'm going to make myself bigger just because I feel small. There we go. The evolution of them is that a tube, the reason we missed fish on tube, especially early on in the creation and the the figuring out of the whole deal is because a tube, unlike most tailed soft plastics, is that when you jerk it, being cylindrical the way it is, the bait moves a lot after the jerk. The bait is still moving forward. Where as like a dog or Medusa or anything, I don't care what it is. If it's got a tail, the tail acts almost as a parachute and slows it down. And so you don't get that extra run. Well, with the tube, you always got that little extra run there. And that little extra run, you'd find you'd get strikes and you wouldn't even know it. Or you'd just be late to the party by the time you go and set the hook. And so by adding those blades or adding a grub or adding anything that slows it down a little bit after the pull, hook sets and the amount of fish that you contact definitely goes up. Now, on the bait that you've got there, is it hollow? Can it be rigged, or is it a solid? I can't tell if it's a solid.
Yeah. So, and by the way, I also want to give a quick shout out to Mark at Red October, because I part of the reason we were like debating whether we were going to come out with these is like I had mostly just been testing them with like Mark's Red October harnesses.
Yep.
And I got some ideas on some ways to like do a different harness, maybe a little bit to affect the action, but also just thinking about like, could we play around with like hook placement and stuff to reduce, tongue hooked muskies and whatnot. Right. And I just also, I'm just like, I don't like copying people, right? Like I would just feel bad like copying Mark's like harness exactly and be like, here's our harness, it's the same as Red October's. So I actually called Mark a while back and just kind of like told him like, hey, you might not like this, but I'm just letting you know, like we're thinking about coming out with this bait. By the way, this black one, you're not going to be able to see, but it is hollow. And this one's a little bit brighter, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier to.
Yep.
So in a Red October harness will fit in there. And so actually Mark was, super cool about it. He, cause I actually said like, here's the deal. Like, I don't want to copy your harness. And I would love to just sell yours. And I'll leave, tell them it's yours, you know what I mean? And not our design. I'd rather do that than copy your harness and sell it as ours. Right. So that's actually how we're going to have them, at least, this kind of soft release during show season in limited quantities. We're going to, have Mark's rigs available in our booth, the Red October ones to sell. Most of the time I was using the mid rig and the heavy rig, the one where it comes through the nose. And also there's another guy who has like a little, I don't know, I call it the tampon. It looks like a tampon that goes in the tube. It's like a hard body, but those, when the weight gets that light, and there might be an application for it, like maybe sight fishing really early in the season, because it's like it hits the water and there's so little weight. It just like literally just goes like this, and then it just starts to, it'll glide like a really long ways. But unless you're like throwing right at a fish, I think you'd lose your mind like trying to fish it, with a rig that light. So we'll probably, have the mids and the heavies in our booth, and you can obviously go get stuff from Mark if you want one of the other ones. I'm going to try and put those harnesses, both versions, on these in a pool and try and shoot some video and stuff. I just haven't too many irons in the fire, so I haven't got there yet with it. So
sure, no, I totally get it. I'm excited. That sounds pretty cool. I love new baits. I love playing with it. I'm horrible right now. The other night I get on Tackle Warehouse and I see something. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I need 4 of those. I don't know what the fuck they are. Who knows? I got them in the mail. They're supposed to be here today, but we never get anything up here when they say they're going to get here. But no, the new baits, that's always fun. And I know, Josh, that we were supposed to go through the season, and I'm horrible at doing what I never tend to do exactly what I say. Kind of let's say in the next, give us a 2-minute rundown of kind of how the season was for you. Personally, for me, I thought last year was kind of tough. Through some of it through a learning perspective. I'm still learning quite a bit. Especially up north, being on Lake of the Woods now. I don't think I'm attacking the summer quite the way I should be. The fall was pretty decent once it got cold. The spring was really tough because of high water. Just would not quit raining. And the shallowest water I fished in the spring was 7 feet above normal. But what about for you?
Kind of a tale of two seasons for me. The first half of the season, June, July, August, was not for like big fish necessarily, but for consistency. We only had 4 skunks in my boat for like that whole run, and also I want to add like, like the vast majority, I'd say 90 to 95% of the fish did not have a beam on them. You know what I mean? Like we were actually most of July and August, like I didn't even have my scopes on in my boat. We were doing all that shallow with bucktails and the one and that prototype were, the only downside was, dude, I caught like very few fish because like those baits were so hot in the front, like it was just like impossible to like catch behind them, but it's great for guiding, right? That's the way you want it. But yeah, I was pretty proud of that. And then second half was definitely grindier and tougher for me. I came back to Minnetonka and you always got to work harder out there. It's a metro fishery. It's a lower density. And those fish have been scoped a lot too and act like it. Just tight bite windows. And even, when I went back up to Vermilion in the fall as well, part of it was we just had a warmer fall than usual. And, I've always, on the record, many places saying like 42 degrees is like the magic number. Like once we get below that, they go off. And once we got there, it improved and got much better. It just was a long wait to get there. And it just seems like, before you get there, it's a lot of, 1 and 2 bites a day. And a lot of them are licking it, not, smoking it. So you don't catch all those bites either. So, that's, I guess, in a nutshell, if you're keeping me to 2 minutes, hopefully I was close.
No, that works. And I think, people like to hear that on how the years and stuff go and how the ups and downs and everything. And I just like to hear how it goes. But the one thing before we get done here, though, Josh, you talked about it, and I don't know, I'm actually going to buy a couple of baits from you, and whoever signs up for the Patreon, if you sign up for the Patreon, it's $8, guys. I know you guys love gambling. You're a musky fisherman. You like to gamble. Go to Vegas. Put it all on black. You do it. You could sign up for the Patreon. $8, guys, and you're going to be entered in to the contest. We just had one the other day. Jeff Tinnick won one of the double flaps from Bomb Squad that were not available to anybody yet, and he won that. Jeff from Bomb Squad sent it to him. But by New Year's, January 1, New Year's Day, if you sign up, you will go into a drawing and win one of Josh's. Are we going to do a tube and a little one, or are we going to do, what do you want to do?
If you want to.
Tube and a little one, we will, the guys are going to win. Guys, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, or, somebody's money. I don't know. Josh, I hope he takes Shell gift cards, because I do have some of those. That would be nice for some of these baits. And again, guys, all you got to do is sign up and become a member of the Patreon, and I'll get you in contact with Josh, because no one wants me going to the post office, because I'll fuck that up. And you'll get some of his baits. Josh, how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to go fishing next year, or buy some baits, or get involved with Musky Insider? How can they do this?
Yeah, so my website is promuskyguide.com. We spell that with an IE, which is not how we spell Musky Insider. Musky Insiders with a Y. We have a website. By the way, we kind of have 2 facets to that. We have a newsletter, which is completely free. It goes out every other week. Lots of good musky content there. We try to have some fun with some gifts and memery and whatnot too, and some bonus content on our social channels. And then, the paid component to that is Musky Insider Pro, which is a paid subscription program. We have, I think we have 115 hours of Q&A recordings now and 32 hours of class material, which Gregg's doing the Southern Reservoir class for us next week.
When am I doing that?
I was going to say, I didn't write it down. I think I want to say it's December 17th. Does that sound right? Is it 17th or 18th?
Sure. I think it's a Wednesday. This
it's like
is really
next
good.
Month. Yeah. Well,
yeah, this is next week.
Wednesday when people hear this, but
next Wednesday. Yeah, this is going to go up probably tomorrow, what we're doing right now. That way everybody can do that and stuff. So yeah, next Wednesday, guys, you can hear me talk about y'all, and I'll even mention some Kentucky basketball, which is super disappointing this year, but that's another thing. We'll talk about it then.
Hey,
yes.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Also, the bait company, our website is anglingrevolution.com. And we don't even have, you guys, this literally are the first people to see and know about this. So you can thank Gregg for that. And also, if you are interested in getting into pro, we have registration open through Christmas. We got a $30 off promo code going. It's just holiday 30. So it's a good time to get in the door and save some money before we close it, and also get to see Gregg next week.
Yeah, guys, everybody would love to see me on their computer. I mean, look at this puss. This is one that you want to see. Yeah. If you want to tell your wife, hey, this, let's turn it on in the bedroom and never look at each other again. This is what you want to see. Josh, I do appreciate you coming on here. It's great. Thanks for showing the new baits. I think it's something people are really going to catch some fish on this year. Love the explanation and everything like that. And why don't you spin that one, the little one that you're just going to
Well, I just noticed this the other day, and I don't know, it's tough with a computer mic, but I can definitely hear. I'm like, well, maybe this is what it's even more of a squeak than a rattle. I'll try and put this up close.
This is our attempt at SAMR, whatever that is, when people listen to that.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Do you know where a mic is on a Mac? Because I could hold it closer to that too.
But I have no idea.
All right, I'm just going for it here. Right. Wait, hold on. When it slows down, you can hear it more. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but it's definitely got a squeal to it. Of just that clevis spinning on there.
You can definitely pick it up. You can definitely pick it up there at the end. So, well, Josh, hey, buddy, I really appreciate this. This thing's going to go up soon, and I will next week. I'll actually be in Kentucky, but we'll record that the Southern Talk next week, and it should be good. So, hey, I do appreciate it, and look forward to speaking with you here next week. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Gregg. Take care.
All right. Hold on for me just